All right. Something cool here is with Jimmy from Ours. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Hey, man, congratulations on the new album. It was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Now, I mean, this album is all you. I mean, from writing to recording, engineering, everything.
Yeah, well, I do a lot. I do have a band as well um, that is part of it with me, but I'm just kind of like the instigator of all of it. And I work a lot alone as well, like around the clock, But when the time is right, everybody does join me in for their contribution and their time. And at the end of all of it, like the drummer is a much better drummer than I am. And the bass player as well. That goes for him as well. Yeah, they play really well. But yeah, because I write a lot, so I hear a lot of the different things, and I've learned how over the years how to kind of record it myself and mix it. And so, yeah, I'm doing a lot of that part myself in house, and I do play. Yeah, I do play some drums on the record, and some other instruments, and bass and piano and all sorts of different things. But we do have a band, yeah. So it's a weird balance, but it works for us.
What I mean is by you doing it all on your own is, I mean, you engineered it. You did all
Oh
the
yeah,
behind the scenes stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you've done some great stuff with Rick Rubin. You've been with DreamWorks Records. I mean, you've done all over. But now this is truly you.
Yep, all in house. Yeah,
Was that more freeing this time around?
yeah. It's in a sense, it's that's how I did the Rick Rubin record as well, except that I had great engineers working with me on that. Um, but for the most part, I spent the time with him every day recording and making the record because Rick doesn't come to the studio.
Right.
So when we made the record with Rick, I was kind of, from that moment on, I was kind of granted the freedom. And before that, I had some songs on my first record, mainly the hit single. I did that on my own without any producers as well. I did it with a partner of mine back here in Jersey. But yeah, so I think we've always gotten the best results when we do it ourselves. But it was a struggle through the years to get that kind of, freedom. So, but eventually that's why I kind of left all the labels and just decided to do it all myself.
Now you've been doing this for 20 plus years, man. How do you think you've evolved over that time?
Um, well, I think my ear's gotten better um, through the years, and as a person, it's tough because I was in a really good place when I started my first record, and that was back in 1997 when I started that, and I was in a really healthy spiritual space for that. But musically, I think I kind of got back to that place mentally and spiritually where I was on the first record. But I think musically, I just I didn't take anything for granted in the sense of feeling like it'll be okay. Kind of just sometimes you just do it and you feel like people will hear through it. But when I did Sometimes on the first record, and I did the song I'm a Monster, I made sure that every detail was really taken care of. So I guess over these last few records that I've made on my own, I try to really pay attention to that. But I think, it's hard to say as a person, if you mean personally how I've evolved or musically, it's kind of, I feel like I don't want to say back at square one because I feel like this is a new place for me, but I feel still really grounded and where I was on the first record and in touch with that kind of mindset and why I was recording. And I think I went through some kind of detours along the way, just out of the struggle with the music business. I think that kind of took me off my path for where I wanted to be, what I set out to do. But I think I got back to that place, which was basically to write songs and music that I could really tap into the human condition and reach people and just let them know that they're not alone in whatever it is that they were going through. So I felt like I was able to get back to that again on this new record. So in that sense, I think what I probably learned from all of it was how to really work my way through a lot of obstacles and not give up, because the music business and the whole process could really take you on a ride. So yeah, I think I learned a lot of patience through the years. I had a good amount when I started my first record, but I think even more so as the years went on. Rather than certain things I lost my patience for and my tolerance for, which allowed me to just say, fuck that, I'm not doing that anymore.
Right.
And then other things I became more patient with. And so I think the areas where I became more patient have helped me to prosper and grow in a creative way and a feeling rewarded by the results way. But I think the best and quickest way to answer that, now that I just went through all that, is that I think what I've really learned and evolved to is understanding to fully believe in my vision, and not. I'm very open to contribution, collaboration within our circle, within the band, but beyond that. To not allow anything else, anybody else's moods or opinions sway what it is that we're doing. Because if you get caught up in that, it can take you on a real awful ride, because you end up chasing what everybody else thinks that they would do. And then they don't even know, what they would do. So it's, I think what I've really learned is once and for all, just to follow that and just see it through all the way and not look back and not look down. If we're getting to some crazy heights, don't look down, don't worry about it. Just keep moving forward.
Now, with that being said, I know you've had some lineup changes over the years. Are you happy with the current lineup right now?
I am. To kind of explain why that is, I was signed all those years ago as a solo artist, making music under the name Ours. So it was basically going to be however I decided to do it, kind of like a Bowie thing, just like that I would change and evolve, and some people would be with me for the next phase and some wouldn't. It all depended on, I think, where I wanted to go and whether or not they wanted to go there with me. Right. So I've been blessed through the years to have a lot of support from good buddies of mine who have joined me for the ride. But this time it was about making sure that we were going to have the kind of energy that we needed to have, that a young band would have, 18, 19-year-old band would have. I needed to have that kind of energy in the music. So this particular band has been the longest lineup, consistent lineup that we've ever had. But we've not gone out and played shows really with this band because we've been kind of underground, but this is the longest lineup, which is about 6 to 7 years.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So some of the other lineups, even though we were out in the public and that's what people may have seen, they were really very brief, funny enough, like the Distorted Lullabies lineup on my first record. That was basically about for a year's time. But, it just kind of depends how people see you first and what they're going to remember, what their experience is going to be. I try to make it, as I continue to go into different directions and explore things, I try to just make it honest for whatever that moment in time is. So I think we were losing that honesty and it needed to get back to that place. So I had to deconstruct it and bring it back to a place of honesty and humility,
Now, this album is self-titled, but originally it was supposed to be called Spectacular Sight, and it was going to be the third album in a trilogy.
Yeah.
Is that still the case? Is this still the third album in the trilogy, or do you plan on doing something different in the future?
It is still the third and final chapter in the whole story. And what ended up happening also, that there were all these other songs that felt like they were part of this story of these songs, and they became EPs. So we put out some EPs as well with this new record. But this is the final chapter of this story, and then we'll see where it goes from here. But as time went on, it really started to feel like this was, if there was ever going to be a record that represented everything from beginning to end that I had tried to do from the start, that would be this record. It just sounded that way. So if it didn't feel right to call it Spectacular Sight for me anymore, because it felt like that limited the range of what I felt was happening with the record, which went beyond my original thought. So that's kind of what happened.
Now, did the lockdown and pandemic help influence that way of thinking?
Well, it certainly allowed me to take advantage of the time, and not feel any sort of rush to put it out, because there wasn't anything that we could really do. We couldn't go out and play. So it definitely, I hate to say it because it's been pretty terrible on people, and it's been a lot of loss. But for me, it just gave me a little bit of freedom to just say, okay, you don't have to put this out right now. And I was, the subject matter of the record was already long dialed into what it was about long before the pandemic. So that didn't affect the songs per se at all, the subject matter of the songs, but it did give me the extra time, to complete it.
Now, with that being said, you had in mind the songs that you wanted to do. I'm sure a lot of lyrics, everything was already taken care of. But during all that downtime, did you have an opportunity to write stuff for future work?
Did, yeah. I actually, in that time, I wrote some of the songs that went on to the EPs. I finished them, and then there are a few other ones, that we recorded as well, but that didn't feel like they were part of this at this time. So we're sitting on a few more that are already finished. Yeah. But yeah, I'm always writing. So it definitely, naturally, it just gave me more time. So I just kept writing. Yeah. But one of the songs that I wrote during the time, the one that sticks out the most is a song called "Don't Want to Be a Star" that we put out on an EP right before it. We put an EP out called Media Age. And so, yeah, that was one of the songs that was written during this time. And that felt kind of like it should be out at this moment in time. If you listen to the words and Don't Want to Be a Star, I wrote them, the pandemic had started, but the marches and the George Floyd, didn't happen yet. But I started to write this song and I wasn't sure where it was coming from, but that's basically what happened. And another song on that EP called Kids that I've been sitting on now for about 7 years, also to do with what went on over the last year with all the Black Lives Matter marches and everything, the uprising of things. I had some songs already, like I said, that were already part of this whole story that were about that. So yeah, it's pretty trippy for anybody that cares to look into it, or about what we're doing, to look into it. And a song like Kids, I wrote those lyrics years ago, and that song. And then, yeah, so Don't Want to Be a Star, I was kind of basically talking about everybody getting out, and a renaissance, a celebration of getting back out to life, and kind of standing up for life and coming together and all this stuff, which is, it's nothing new. It's, anybody that looks around and has the dream of people being closer together, I guess we're always going to write that way. But yeah, that's the short answer. That's one of the main songs, Don't Want to Be a Star, that I wrote during this time.
You got some shows coming up in August. Are you excited to get back out on the road?
I am. Yeah. I haven't been excited to tour in a very, very long time. I think we made the record with Rick Rubin, and then we jumped out on the road and did a bunch of tours that didn't make any sense to us, or for us. I took the tours because I'm just a general, pretty open-minded music fan. And I look at a night of music like festivals in Europe, you know, where there are different kinds of bands. I don't necessarily buy into just like having to be a specific genre, but so we did right when that record was finished, we did a tour with a band called Circus Survive, which is more of a emo kind of you know the real soundscapey kind of emo band. Great band. And the band called Dredge. Dredge was cool. That was a good tour. But the Circus survived, and then we went out with Manson. And so that was about 6 months, total 6 months of torture for us every night, just like the audience torturing us, like physically abusing us and assaulting us for about 6 months. So after that, I wasn't all that excited to tour anymore because it just seemed like it was happening everywhere we were going. Then we did tour all of Europe with the band Aha, and that was great. We played arenas, and that was basically, you know, and thinking about things rather than, you kind of have to be smart. I was a little idealistic about it, to where I felt like, well, it's just music, you know, people are people, so they'll be into it. But it wasn't that case. They really aggressively hated us. But when we got to Aha, I felt, okay, that one really makes sense. And sure enough, night after night in arenas, like, it was so positive. And, you know, we sold so many records on that tour and met so many great people. And we finished that tour, and then I toured with Lana Del Rey, and that was also a really positive tour. But I've been a little skeptical about touring, just because those few experiences did kind of make me aware that Chester had asked us to do Project Revolution after the Manson tour. And I said, you know, I love you, Chester. I would love to tour with you guys, but I just can't. I can't be out on the road with these like heavy rock bands anymore. Their audiences like hate our guts. So I didn't feel like that's where we were supposed to be, but they kept pushing us in that direction. I think because of, who knows, because I have tattoos, or because I wear leather or makeup or whatever it is. But I never saw it that way. I never saw our music that way. But when you're on a label and stuff, they kind of push you in a direction. And so I'm happy to basically go out and do it on our terms. And as I see it, really genuinely start to find our audience after all these years, unapologetically be ourselves and truly find our audience. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Now, as a musician, when you're paired with somebody like Manson, and the crowd's just not vibing, and what kind of mental stress does that put on you in your personal life, even, you know?
Yeah, well, I was in a really good place about it. I was disappointed that it wasn't a successful thing for us, but it wasn't breaking me at all. Night after night, you know, if you can imagine 5,000 people, all completely in unison, chanting, "You suck, you suck," throwing quarters, throwing anything they had in their pockets at the stage at me, and the rest of the band, for, you know, solid 40 dates or so. And it never, ever got better. And we figured, oh, okay, well, this is a cool city. That'll be better. It never got better. Just this hate. And I was well aware of what that audience was and is. And so my point of view on it, which I think pissed people off more, was, I know you're angry. That's why you're here. And this is your release. So that's cool. Like, get it out. Just try not to hit me in the eye with a quarter, because you're going to blind me. You know, I didn't do anything to you. I'm just up here singing a song. So right. You want to scream how bad we suck, and, you know, basically calling me a faggot, calling, you know, like, that's what they would chant night after night. And so I said, you know, if that makes you guys feel better, get it out. You came here to express yourselves. I'm expressing myself right back at you. And I could very easily, just the same, you know, turn to people and say, go fuck yourselves. Very easily. Like, I have no problem protecting myself, but I wasn't out there just to fight with people. I don't make music to fight with people. I make it to connect with people and love people. So that was my view. I felt like they're going to try to break us each night. And if I give into the anger and the hatred, then we'll win, because they'll feel like, yes, he's playing along. So I never played along. There was one night I remember in Arizona, like people were screaming a bunch of stuff, and my daughter was at the show. And at this point it was, what was it, 2008? She was 12 years old, my daughter. And she's watching, and basically, you know, like I said, thousands of people that seem like they want to lynch me. So she's concerned, and I was just letting her know and letting the audience know. At this moment in time, I kind of let them know, I need you to understand that I don't fucking care what you think. Like, I need you to understand that clearly. I clearly don't care. And, you know, I remember a bunch of people wrote to me saying, bullshit, you care. You wouldn't be out here if you didn't care. You want us to like you. And the thing is this, yes, I want to connect with people that are open to the music and the message that we have. But if somebody wants to hate us for it, I'm aware of what that is, and I truly don't care. Like, and that's what they were missing. They thought that I was being, you know, just coy about it, but I honestly don't care, and I didn't care. And so to tell you the truth, it didn't break me for the entire tour. It's like, it's good for you guys. I'd walk off stage, I'd go back to our bus, I would change into my sweatpants, I would do 200 sit-ups, 100 push-ups, vacuum the bus, and watch The Sound of Music. That's how affected I was by it. I was like, I got paid tonight. I'm here. Next stop, where are we going tomorrow? Okay, great. I'll do the same thing tomorrow night. I'll get up for 30 minutes. I'll let all these hateful people come at me, you know, believing that I give a shit about what they say. And I'll have done my job. And, you know, the problem with all that, it was just, it wasn't smart. So I wasn't afraid to go and do it. And I wasn't afraid to keep doing it after the first show, but it wasn't smart to do it. I didn't want to quit because I felt like, well, I don't want to show anybody that I'm, you know, that I'm intimidated or I'm afraid, because I wasn't. The problem was more so that even though we get paid something, it still costs us a lot of money to do that tour. You look at a tour like that, and for us, it costs us around $100,000 to do that tour. So there comes a point where you have to say, was it really smart to spend $100,000 to be abused by Manson's audience? And so at the end of the day, I just look back and I say, well, that was really not wise. That was a decision made out of two factors. One was that I didn't want to quit, and I didn't want to be basically a quitter to show anybody that I was afraid of it. And the other thing was that the label, it was a new label for me. It was Columbia Records, and they were excited about the tour. And at that point, it would have been really difficult for them to see what was happening. They would have just felt that I was quitting out of being difficult, you know? So I had to kind of weather it. So, yeah, at the end of the day, it didn't break me, but it did make me savvy enough to then, like I said, after that, when it came up again with Chester. And don't get me wrong, I love a lot of heavy bands. I do, but that has nothing to do with pairing us up with them. It's not a smart pairing. So I started to learn that, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. But did it break me? No.
Awesome, man. Good for you. You know, for sure, 100%.
Yeah, thanks.
But now moving forward, I mean, you have more control, so you can pick and choose who you would like to tour with, right?
We can. Yeah. Without any feeling like any of those kinds of pressures, you know. So sometimes that's what happens. It's not necessarily that I was bullied by the label to do things. It's just at times when you're working together with people, you want to, it just gets complicated, you know. It's like any relationship. You have to make sacrifices or compromises to make the relationship work. So it's not always about what you want to do, but you know, what I learned is that it always has to be about just what's right. So the end. And I feel like I fought for that with the music aspects as much as I could. But, you know, the dynamics of the whole label and everything, in my opinion, as much as I fought, we still fucked up a lot. So.
Now, throughout your career, you've had numerous songs and TV and movies, things like that. The one thing that sticks out to me the most is when you teamed up with Brian May from Queen for the Spider-Man soundtrack. How'd that
Yeah.
all come about?
I got a call from my friend Rick Rubin, and we were already in motion to do the Third Hours record together, and he was in a meeting with Sony and about Spider-Man, and he was doing, I think, a song with Audio Slave for the soundtrack, and they had this other song that Chris and Alan had written, and so they said, okay, well, we should get somebody else to sing the song because Chris is already singing the song on it. And they were talking, they threw a bunch of names out, like Eddie Vedder or somebody else. And Rick kind of jumped in and said, there's only one person on the planet to sing this song. So Rick fought for me to do it, is basically how it happened. So then he called me and he said, look, I just had this whole meeting. They want this song with, that Chris wrote, but they want somebody else to sing it. And I want you to sing it. Tell me what you think of the song. He sent it to me. I loved it. I immediately learned it, and I played it back for him over the phone. I said, I'm kind of thinking of it more like this, though. Chris's version is really cool, but it's kind of a little left of center, just sonically. It's really great, but it's just slightly quirky with the sounds, but cool, like more artsy than the version that we did. And my stuff before this point was always more artsy. I didn't do mainstream stuff. So when I was doing this for Spider-Man, I felt like, okay, I'm going to do it under my name. So I'll do this one more mainstream. And so I was hearing it to be more clear, like we did it. So I played it for Rick and he said, that's exactly what I'm hearing. Great. We were on the same page. He thought I sounded great singing it to him over the phone. So I went out by his place. We recorded it. One of my heroes, Roger Manning from Jellyfish, played piano on it. And we had a lot of great people involved in it. Dave Sardi also played guitar and helped engineer it. My friend Jason Lader played bass and helped to engineer a bunch of it and mixed it. So when it came time for the guitar solo, that was Rick's idea to get Brian. At the time, he had said, he was working on Weezer records as well. And he said, Rube said that he would do it too if you wanted him to play. And I like the way that he plays guitar. So I said, okay, I'm kind of down for either of them. I like the way both of them play the guitar. I love Brian May. But I never really told Rick that. I think maybe he just kind of got that from maybe what he heard in my voice that was maybe similar to Freddie and Queen at times. So that was all Rick. So he made it happen. And we sent it to Brian and asked him, and he said, sure, I'd love to do it. He did it. He elevated the whole song. The moment he played on it, he changed it. And then I had to re-sing it. So yeah, that was all Rick, basically. I sang, we did it in a more straight ahead way like I wanted to, but the truth is that Rick pulled that whole thing together. He fought for me and then he got Brian May, and yeah.
That's awesome, man. Now your newest track, Bring It On, I can't stop playing it.
Oh, good. Yeah, that was one of the more kind of rock and roll bangers on the record. We can make entire records that way. I have so many songs, and I just spread them out, like I said, over these EPs that we did, and because we can make an entire record that just slams like that, but it's always been a little strange to me to have the entire thing going. I just felt like growing up and thinking about the kinds of records that I wanted to make, they always had different kinds of songs on them, and the whole record told a story. So it's difficult sometimes to figure out which songs to put out there in the world, but yeah, Bring It On, that's a fun one for us.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see once your touring starts, the whole crowd just going nuts for that one for sure.
Yeah, it's like a big stadium kind of banger. It's fun to do.
Now, after this short run of tours, do you have anything planned for the rest of the year or beginning of next year?
We're working on a few things for the fall. And then we hope to get out and do for next year, the entire country. This is just a quick run, but we hope to do, just to kind of get the songs together. introduce the band to some people around the country, and kind of get everybody primed up for 2022 in hopes that everything's cleared up as far as the COVID cases, and hopefully where things are better by then. But that's really the main thing. Just get out there, connect with some people, and then gear up for the new year or so. But we are working on a couple things for the fall that we'll see which way things go. But I just had a friend call me last night with a really interesting opportunity, but I have to see. Yeah.
Now, does it get you a little leery when bands like Buck Cherry and the guy from Trivium getting COVID when they're on tour?
Did they get it? Somebody Buck Cherry got it?
2 members, yeah. They got to take a 2-week break, two week break right now because 2 members got COVID. During the show.
That does make me very leery. Yeah, I mean that's very concerning. We were starting to, April is the April's in the band, and she's kind of our barometer for making sense, and because otherwise we just kind of go, we're wind us up and go. But April's been a little concerned about it. She's been watching things and saying, cases are going up, and not sure if this is a great idea. So just the last few days, we've been a little concerned about it, but yeah, it does make me leery.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be the hardest thing in the world. I mean, you haven't had the opportunity to play for almost a year and a half. All of a sudden, everything's open up. They're like, just jump in and go at it. And now it's just like, shit, man, I have an opportunity to get sick out there doing what I'm paid to do.
Yeah. Damn, I'm not really sure. Not really sure how to feel about that. I don't want to put anybody else in danger, either. That's not why we're going to do this. We waited as long as we thought we should.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also why we're only doing a handful of dates and not all of them. Like not all the cities that we normally would do. But I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Have to see what happens.
Well, I mean, I definitely wish you the best of luck out there. I mean, it's going to be a wild ride for everybody, for sure. It's going to be a learning experience for one, because everything's kind of changed a little bit. I mean, some of the venues that you used to go to probably aren't going to be there anymore, and different protocols, and the excitement of the crowd's going to be just completely insane. I mean, I don't know, being locked in your house for a year and a half really messes with your mind.
Yes. I've definitely seen that already out there. The energy in the country. I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I've seen it in a bunch of different places. I really, really hope that we could just shake it off and get through this, because I've seen it like trigger off all different, variations of like drastic kinds of effects in people's personalities. Some people being really withdrawn, other people being really aggressive, as a result. So yeah, I continue to hope and wish for the best with everyone and for everyone. That's why we're doing this, just to bring people together and do something positive with people. So we'll have to keep an eye on that over the next few days here, in all honesty.
Now, the people that are watching this, they want to check out the new single, they want to buy the album, they want to get tickets for the tour dates that you have out. Where do they go for everything?
They can come to our website. That's the best spot, ours.net, and all the ticket links will be there. Yeah. Well, it's not, that was not a very shining, gleaming endorsement for for coming out to join us, but yeah, we'll see. Well, we'll be there.
I didn't mean to be a downer on it. It's just
No, it's not you at all. I'm just kind of thinking about it. Yeah. It's better to know about it, right? And I didn't even know that they got it. Who got it? Who got in the band? Buck Cherry? Did Josh get it?
They won't say. They just said 2 members.
Oh, Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. They just it was one of the first shows that just played here. I'm in New York by Buffalo. They just played a raceway, like a I don't know, like where they race cars and shit like that. They played that, and then the next day they postponed the tour. They had to cancel a bunch of dates because they tested positive.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of crazy, man. Not to get too into it, but I've watched now for a year and a half. I've watched so many people, for whatever reason, for whatever ignorant reason they wish to say, and I don't talk much about it because this is why, because it's going to come back at me. But everybody's saying it's not real, it's not real, it's being blown out of proportion, blah 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 blah. But it's starting to reach all these places and all these people that were saying for the longest time that it's being blown out of proportion and that it's some sort of political thing. But I'm right here in New York City, and when it was happening, I can tell you that they were lining bodies up because they didn't have any more room for them in the morgue, and they were lined up along West Side Highway. And if that's not something going on, I don't know what is. It's just for whatever reason, just people did not want to. They didn't want to believe it. They didn't want to hear it because it felt like if they gave into believing it, then all of a sudden they felt like they were being weak or they were being taken advantage of, and they were giving into a mindset that was being played. And now it's reaching all these different places. And I got friends of mine in Florida who got people who have died from it now, and friends down there, they're saying, oh, it's not as bad as people are talking about. But it's like, okay, well, do 30-something-year-old people normally fucking die from a cold? So there's something going on that it's sad, it's horrible, but it's not. Unfortunately, I'm going to be an asshole about it, but it's not surprising because people all over are treating it like it's not real. And that's what happens. It's very real. So yes, make no mistake, we are not hitting the road with the mindset that this is blown out of proportion or not real at all. People's concern, like people's well-being is a huge concern for us. So we will be looking at that over the next few weeks just to make sure that this makes sense, to tell you the truth.
That's awesome speaking with you like that. I mean, on that fact, like I'm from New York as well. And then, for seeing it as we have is being hit so hard when I do this, where I talk to these bands all over the world over this Zoom shit here. And it's funny when you talk to somebody down south or something like that, and they're like, it's bullshit, man. I never wore a mask. I never did this or that. It's just like, it's crazy.
Yeah. And it's getting to them. And that's the whole thing. I left Texas. I was driving around the country when it first happened. I went out to California for a month, and then I drove back across the country. My son's in Texas, and I was in Texas, leaving Texas. And somebody at the pump said to me, I think it's all bullshit. I think it's made up. And I was like, yeah, you think so, huh? Okay. I just came from New York. Okay. You keep thinking what you want. But I can tell you that it's coming this direction. So you keep thinking that, but it's just so bizarre, man. And none of it makes sense. It's like people want to pick some side for some crazy reason out of not thinking properly. They're afraid that they're not thinking for themselves. So they take this stance that has to do with some sort of conspiracy or this or that. And it's just like insanity. And nobody knows. Like they're pissed at Trump for closing the borders and not letting people in. Yet that's what people like Australia, New Zealand did. Like they handled it right away and did that. And they were strict about it and they got it contained. And then, people are like, it's so crazy, man. I don't think people know what they're thinking. They're like, you got these people who think it's political, and they're being pissed off at Democrats for saying the Democrats are making it up. And then Trump, their own person, like tries to do something about it to fix it. And then, people getting pissed at him about it. It's just like, it's all so crazy. It's all really disappointing. That's the best I can say. Like looking out at all of it on all sides of what's happened the last, if we're going to talk real and get beyond the music, which is, I should be talking about the music, right? Because that's what I do and people want to hear. And I try not to talk about this shit much, but the reality is that I actually do have a lot to say about it. And what I have to say about it is I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed all over. I'm disappointed on both sides because it all became such a hot mess. People who were mad at Trump for whatever they were saying, that how he was being with everything, they became some of the most hateful people I've ever met in my life, wishing death upon, him and everyone he knows and everyone who votes for him. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with all of you? Like, what's happening? What's going on? Like, seriously, it just became such a shit show, man. And, in pertaining to like COVID and stuff, well, COVID's still here. Trump's gone. COVID's still here. And people are still dying. And we don't really have the answers for it. So, people are getting so pissed off, feeling like they're being oppressed and their rights are being oppressed, their freedoms, by having to wear a mask. And then it's like, well, is it that difficult for you to try to protect other people? Is it really that difficult? Is it hurting you that much in your life that when something like this, like a plague, is going through our country, and all they're asking is just wear a mask, and people are getting pissed about it? It's like such insanity. It's like, it's all so disheartening and disappointing. I'm hoping that our time as we go out and we play for people, that we can put aside all of this bullshit on both sides and we can come together, play and enjoy some music together and get beyond it, and not have it be about sides, but just be about like, we are one. We are one people pushing towards the same goal, which is a great life for everyone that's here and future generations, But we'll see what's going on. But that doesn't surprise me at all. It does not surprise me at all. Like to hear that it's a problem. I'm surprised to hear that Buck Cherry got it, in a sense, because we're about to go out. But as I think about it, it's actually not that surprising. It's concerning to hear, but not surprising, I should say.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's just hopefully, people go to the shows, they bond, they get together. When you go to a rock show, it's the one great escape that you have in your life. You know what I mean? It's like to put away all the bullshit, the 2 hours that you're there, whatever you're worried about, whatever concern that you have, just gets washed away, and you just get caught up in the moment.
Completely. And I got to tell you, that's why, for me growing up, that's why I stopped going to even like super hard rock shows, because it was like, I don't know. Like I went to all these hard rock shows and there were lots of great, cool people, but then there were a bunch of just like whiny pricks. Like, it's like, yo, this is a rock show, man. Enjoy yourself. I got tired of being around with like whiny pricks, to tell you the truth. And then I went to U2 shows and I felt this energy that was like, wow, everybody is connected to something much bigger than, oh, wow, you just bumped into me, or you're standing in front of me, or whatever it was. It became this universal energy in the place where people were looking out for one another. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I in your way? I'm sorry about that. Oh my God, I just stepped on you. I'm so sorry. It just became like, wow, is it so difficult to look out for one another and be good to one another in a place where we're coming together to experience something? And for me, unfortunately, shows just got to be so, I don't know, the energy got to be so lame at a lot of the rock shows. And that's part of what turned me off about being too rock as well, because it was like, if rock means that you have a stick up your ass, then I'm good. I'm out.
100%, man. I totally feel you on that. Going forward, I just hope the vibe at a show is that people were taking things for granted before. I mean, concerts were just there. But now having that taken away from me for that long, I hope that people are just there to enjoy it and get along and get together. I don't want going to a show to be an excuse because you've been pent up and fucking angry and frustrated to go ahead and take it out on the dude next to you in a mosh pit or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean?
1,000% agree. 1,000%. And that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that it's opened people's eyes to say, this is a night out. This is a good thing. Let's enjoy this with one another. We're blessed to be here tonight. How awesome is this? Somebody falls down. And that's what I said night after night at the Manson show. When I walked off stage, I said, listen, you came here to let it out. I did too. I actually have a lot of love for you. I want you guys to have a great fucking time tonight. Somebody falls down, lend them a hand, pick them up. Be careful down here in the front. Take care of one another. Good night. That's what I said every night when I walked off the stage. And that's how I feel about it. That's why we go to shows, to be a part of this thing with one another, where, you know, where it's like, whatever it may be, like you're at the altar of what's important to you. And so I hope the same thing, like you were saying, it's like, it's a lot of stuff has been taken for granted. So I hope that, you know, with the ease of it, and then like with the ease of the internet and all that, you know, when you take away live shows and you don't have that feeling anymore, it's, you know, for me, I thrived on it. Even doing what we do, I still like to go, when I'm home, I like to go to shows every night around New York and anywhere I can go to see a show.
You know, the one thing that they proved to us during this lockdown, this time off, is that a lot of things were easily replaced. Like, you couldn't go to the movies. They started showing movies at home for you on there. You know, I mean, streaming service started giving you the entire series all at once to keep you occupied.
Mm-hmm.
Even with bands that were doing live streams and shows, it'll never replace actually being there.
Yeah, there's something about the vibration in the space and the sound, and, you know, the energy of other human beings and stuff. And when it's right, it's really, really right. And I you know, I look at bands over the last bunch of years, to me, that have done it in such a beautiful way, like U2 for a long time now has done it really well. Radiohead, such a great energy in that space. Yeah, that's what we've thrived for. And, you know, a lot of the kids, the younger kids, they got it more right too, because they go to these big festivals with the DJs and stuff. And I know a lot of them are on drugs and stuff, but they're there, you know, just with a this universal kind of energy of like being a part of this vibration and the sound that's going on, and this celebration. And I know a lot of it is self-serving as well, for social media, for it to be seen at places, but for majority of it, it's like there's a big, great energy that's happening at a lot of these festivals with the, you know, with the EDM stuff or the DJ stuff. And that's our goal as a band, whether it's whatever we call ourselves, if it's rock and roll, if it's alternative, if it's pop, if it's dance, goth, I don't know what you would call us, but our goal is to just get everybody in the place connected to one another and feeling like, oh, wow, it's not so bad. You imagine if everybody had their hearts open up like that and just feel like, no, you go in front of me. It's okay. It's fine. No, it's completely cool. Watch the show. Enjoy it. I was up there already. I had a great time. Your turn. Like, just that kind of energy. You leave there, and instead of running people over in the parking lot or trying to get out, like, there's a whole respect that's happening, and people have really, really come together. And to do that without, you know, I'm not trying specifically to take religion out of it, but I'm definitely not putting religion into it. Our music is not about any sort of religion or anything like that. It's just about, you know, that kind of thing of bringing people together for the goal of the one common goal of getting higher together and into a place that is going to leave a lasting impression on you. Not just because you got stoned and you feel like you're really deep and high at that moment. Man, I'm so deep. It's so cool. And because you got stoned, you don't want to punch somebody's face in for that moment. Our goal is to make music that has that effect and that change on people beyond any drug, beyond any, you know, when the drug wears off, the hope is that the glow of what we put out there is still with you. So that's what we really, really want to do. So I hope to God that, as I keep religion out of this, that, you know, we're able to do that in a healthy way for people, in a safe way as these shows come up. So let's see what happens.
That's awesome, man. I mean, when I go to a show, that's what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? Not only are there to have a good time, but I want to make a memory. I want to remember what I felt like at that moment, and, you know, everything taken away, and just, wow. You know what I mean? Just be total in awe.
Yeah.
I mean, with that being said, I mean, you're always going to have a piece of shit in the crowd, but if if you're a piece of shit, being at a concert's not going to change your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so
But awesome, man. It was a pleasure speaking with you. I really hope to get a chance to see you at a live show sometime in the near future. And I love the new tracks. I love this album you just put out, and I can't wait to see what's next from you.
thank you. It was really good talking to you. Thanks for letting me kind of go on there a bit and go beyond music.
That's cool, man. It was great. I mean, I feel the same way as you. So it was awesome speaking to someone like minded.
Okay, great. Good talking, man.
All right, man. You take care of yourself. Be
You
safe
too.
out there, okay?
Okay, thank you.